So a lot of this, basically we're gonna get like super tactical, go through like some paid media strategies, and then kind of ways that even if you're not running ads, you can apply it in your business. So a little bit about Rich Media, full service marketing agency. Since we've started, we've worked with over 250 brands, managed 8 figures in ad spend, have helped facilitate some exits. So last year, we did our first 8-figure exit with a client. They'd worked with us for a few years. Once we did that exit, the implementations that we had as an agency were pretty much operating the whole business. So we had to stay on as the agency. So we're still working with that company. And I've also done a few at the 7-figure level. Most of the people that we work with are starting quite small in revenue. These are mostly Shopify direct-to-consumer products. We've been able to do multiple 0 to 200,000 per month in sales in less than 6 months with these Shopify stores. So we're taking basically a business that's just kind of getting off the ground and then putting in paid media to hyperscale it. As an agency, we are Shopify, Facebook, and Google partners. So we have access to all their like internal teams for support and stuff like that. So who is Richman? Eli kind of gave a good intro there about pretty much everything. So as a sophomore in college, started basically my agency in the library, Wix.com, just created zrichmedia.com. First client I ever sold, I sold them Google ads and Facebook ads for $2,000 a month, and I never ran a single Google ad in my life. So learned it from there and then just continued the process and continued to scale it. So yeah, going into my final semester, basically was doing quite well. We were doing multiple 6 figures and minored in business. Last 2 years, went into psychology because I knew I didn't really want to apply something to go get a job. So psychology was basically the most applicable for digital marketing. So that's when I learned to be able to implement that type of stuff. Once I dropped, super stoked to be running the agency full time. And here we are now. So these are kind of some recent stats, kind of just jump right into it. Essentially, these are ones that I feel like I have the ability to show some stats on. So far left here, this is from last year with one of our clients, million in sales. Basically, the previous year didn't really do much at all. This client right here, we moved them over to Shopify Plus, which is essentially Shopify's $2,000 a month plan, and are starting to scale them up. So kind of a little proof of the pudding, and kind of start getting into some of these strategies on how we facilitate these specifically. So what we actually did to generate these results for our clients. Starting out, so a lot of people when they think they get into paid media, they think that you need a lot of money to get started, and a lot of people may not even think that it is something that you can apply to your business. In my opinion, I think for paid media, you can really apply it to any business. The same principles and strategies, we start with pretty much $50 a day with any client that we work with. So whether you're making $10 million a year or not, we don't start with more than $50 a day in ad spend. The same principles that apply for $50 a day in ad spend apply to as far as the content and the conversion rate and getting that person from cold traffic to a customer is about the same, right? So if once you can be profitable with basically $50 in ad spend, we can take that and then you can scale it from there, and pretty much anybody can follow that same process. So from a high level perspective, this is the traffic flow for pretty much any paid media advertising. So you have essentially 3 main funnels that you're sending traffic from. Top of funnel is going to be cold traffic prospecting. For my opinion, basically any sales process or paid media process goes through this exact same funnel strategy. Usually start with something from somebody that's never heard of you, that jumps into a middle of funnel, so somebody that engaged but did not make a transactional behavior. And then your low-hanging fruit, so most of you guys probably have this, something such as somebody that showed a lot of interest but didn't actually complete that checkout or make that transaction. That's going to be your bottom funnel, right? So a lot of times, like you hear Gary Vee or a lot of other paid media strategists, they'll talk about top, middle, bottom funnel. So a lot of the strategies that we will implement are top of funnel strategies to cold traffic, basically trying to get somebody on first impression to buy within a 1-day attribution window from the first time they see it. So structure of an omni-channel presence. So when you're doing paid media, TikTok is not on here. I would include that as well, but these are essentially the specifics and granulars that you would do on any of these media platforms. The biggest one that we do is product-specific lookalike audiences, and I'll jump into more specifically of what that is in the next slide. With Facebook ads, you can do interest-based targeting, URL-specific retargeting, so somebody that goes to a specific URL or landing page that you create, you can create an audience for that and retarget them back from that specific URL. Video engagement retargeting, so people that have watched about 50% or more of a video, maybe 75%, and then didn't click, that can be a retargeting audience. For Google Ads, we have brand search, product search, YouTube ads, catch-all Google shopping, which we'll dive more into, product-specific standard, and smart shipping, and then performance max. This is huge. They just came out with this recently. Essentially, it allows you to do Google ads, YouTube ads based on specific search intent, also competitor websites. So with Performance Max Google ads, let's say you're selling credit services. You can go search for everybody that's in that same industry, put their URL in, and it'll target similar people that behave and have clicked on similar websites. So Performance Max is super huge. One of the biggest ROI positive campaigns that we're doing right now across the board for most of our clients. Email marketing. So this is huge. I think a lot of people are scared to hit their list, don't want to hit it very often. We have many clients where we're doing email marketing pretty much every single day. I think it's something that you should never be too hesitant with. From my experience, and then we'll do post-purchase automations, product-specific automations, and abandoned cart automations. So for those of you guys that are selling products, we work with OmniSend. They did a case study. Essentially, most Shopify stores or e-commerce stores will send out one email when somebody abandons cart. They did a case study where rather than just sending out one email, if you send out 4 within a 72-hour period, you're usually going to be getting about a 72% abandoned cart engagement rate back to conversion. So for abandoned carts, we will generally do an automation in comparison to just one email. And then with SMS, we'll do weekly sale campaigns, and then also include that in the abandoned cart automation implementation. So that's a lot. Is everybody following me so far? Is everybody on this? Okay, cool. So top of funnel cold traffic. So this is the main thing that we use for all of our clients the second we get started. So we essentially look for somebody that has historical data. The more data you have, the better. If you're just starting, you can do interest-based targeting with Facebook ads. This is specifically with Facebook ads. This is a screenshot right from Facebook's informational kind of articles. Essentially what it is rather than targeting people that are specific or interested in certain things that relate to your business, you can upload a CSV file of your customers into Facebook, and essentially it will take all the likes, interests, behaviors of your current customers and target those specific people, which is generally going to give you a higher ROI than just doing interest-based targeting. So it looks like here they generally recommend 1,000 to 5,000 people that you're uploading for that lookalike audience. Very rarely, especially when you're getting started, do you have 1,000 or 5,000 people that you can just upload. I think the minimum requirement is 100 to upload to create a top of funnel cold traffic lookalike audience. So once you upload these, you create percentages, and they have anywhere from a 1 to 10% that you can create from that lookalike audience. And each percentage represents 1 million people similar to that upload. So for example, if you do like a 1% lookalike, that'd be 1 million people that are similar to your current customers. If you do a 5% lookalike, that'd be 5 million people. A lot of times we'll actually stack lookalike audiences together, and so we'll do like a 1 through 10% or something like that. So jumping into our strategy, a little bit unique in comparison to just sending somebody to a homepage or a product page. We actually create what's called an advertorial. So an advertorial is an advertisement in the form of editorial content. The term advertorial is a blend of words, advertisement and editorial. So this is essentially where the art of copywriting comes into play. So essentially what these are is it looks like an informational page or kind of like a blog that you're sending somebody to, so it doesn't seem like you're just directly selling somebody. So for example, let's say like if you're doing credit services or something like that, this advertorial would say more so of like a personal story. So you would say, like the IRS was knocking on my front door, I was totally screwed, and then all of a sudden I found Eli's coaching program, and now I'm saved, or something like that. So usually we've seen the best with a personal story. So if you see this, I know this one right here is converting quite well. I've seen a lot of affiliates promoting it. You have a headline. These social icons, what's interesting is that they don't even go to social media. They'll just link people to the sales page. This is an example, and you notice in the top there's no navigation shown. So a lot of times if you're sending somebody somewhere and there's other places for them to click, you're just giving that visitor an opportunity to not make a conversion. So what this does is it basically eliminates any other opportunity to click outside of just moving forward to the next step in the process. So guide on how basically the benefits of your product or service are worth it. And then this is long form. So these stories are anywhere from 700 to 1,000 words long. And then you want to hyperlink the solution. So in this story, let's say, Eli's coaching program, this is hyperlinked in this advertorial to send them to the next page. Some other call to actions throughout it, like you'll see on the far right, of course, you have, content that's, of course, selling exactly what it is right at the top, but primarily want to make it look just like a general information page. So acquiring new customers and leads. So the first thing we do is we want to go through and create those top of funnel audiences, look-alike audiences to cold traffic. People have never heard of your business or have seen your website. Budget primarily in the beginning. We're going to start with Facebook, Instagram ads because it's push marketing. So for example, with Google ads, you're only going to spend when somebody clicks. And with Facebook ads, you can say, hey, spend $100, spend $1,000 a day, and it will spend it no matter what. So to get things off the ground, generally we're going to start with Facebook, Instagram ads, and we generally have two strategies. So one is sending somebody to an advertorial page, which was that one I just mentioned or showed. Bigger setup, because generally here you have that initial advertorial, and then you have a pre-sale page after that, which I'll show you, which is essentially just a direct product offering. Strategy number two is sending somebody to an advertorial sales page mix. So kind of similar to that, however, it has kind of like Amazon looking form where you have those 4 long bullet points and basically bundling everything right there in one long page, a little bit shorter, but takes more precise copywriting because it's basically just a one-page shot. So this is what it looks like from a general perspective, and then we'll add more to this as we go through it. So new customer acquisition, we have top of funnel audiences. We're moving to that initial advertorial. So science behind the advertorial. So I think a lot of ways going into digital marketing, we think maybe it's spamming people or they're not going to, maybe like what I'm showing them. If we understand the cognitive biases and psychology behind it, it's easier to understand that most people out there, if you're targeting them correctly, want to see your product or service or offering. Like there's probably somebody out there right now that needs your product or service, but just doesn't know about it because they don't know about you. So being able to specifically target them and then show it in a way that makes sense just helps your business and then it helps other people, right? So the information bias is essentially the main psychology aspect behind these advertorials. Barron, Beatty, and Hershey in 1998 essentially discovered the information bias, which applies to why long-form sales pages provide higher conversion rates in comparison to just sending somebody to a page that's very short, simple, and to the point. So in contrary to most strategies out there, most people will think, people are busy, they don't have time, send them something super simple and short. From my experience, generally the opposite applies. If the more you can get somebody engaged, show them real good information, the better of a conversion rate you have and the more engaged they're going to be with your business. So it states essentially, we believe the more information acquired in order to make a decision, the better that decision will be, even if that information is unnecessary or irrelevant. So what this does not mean is like just sending a bunch of garbage or putting in stuff that doesn't make sense. However, when we're making a decision, if we have a long form with all of this text talking about the product, not only do we have information on that decision, but that company was willing to invest the time to even just provide all that information for you. So post-advertorial sales page, right? So we send them to this kind of blog, this informational page, and once they click that hyperlink, these are examples of that same advertorial of what that next page looks like. So generally we're going to have bundles, just a direct product offering, basically just right then and there. Whoops, I don't know if I can erase that without going to the next slide. Just a direct bundle offering right here. Now we want to do this to help increase average order value, and we'll talk more about how this bundling applies, but essentially direct product offering, bundle packs help increase average order value. If we have a higher average order value, it helps justify that cost of acquisition to apply to acquiring that customer. Payment security icons. So we want to provide trust. Just a little bit more over here behind this. Like generally some of the major credit card providers, things of that nature, that can be used in that transaction. The more of these that you can have, the better. So you see PayPal here. With Shopify, you can have Amazon payments, PayPal, ShopPay, pretty much like, I don't know, gosh, probably 10, 20 different payment providers. So that really helps. Along with this, pretty much just a direct product offering after that advertorial once they click that hyperlink. So this is the full spectrum here for top funnel, right? So we essentially first send them to an advertorial. After that initial advertorial, we send them to a pre-sale page. And then this completes the whole thing, right? So in a perfect scenario, somebody goes through all of this, makes the purchase here. However, very rarely does that happen, right? For every single person that we send, to our advertorials. So science behind bundle packs on a sales page. So if we saw on that pre-sale page, we had 3 different options. In comparison to just showing somebody one, even if it's, these other ones aren't as attractive or they're just a bigger price, you generally are going to have a higher conversion rate if you just show multiple offerings. So the aversion bias, this is essentially the psychology behind why this applies. The single option aversion bias was a discovery finding that consumers are reluctant to move forward with a sale when only one option is available to them, even if that one option is exactly what they're looking for. So if they see this, they say, no other options, I'm out of here. You want to compare, you want to price check, you want to make sure it's the right thing. So if you have that, you're basically doing that all right there on the sales page. Conversion more likely to take place when alternative price options are included right then and there during the time of purchase. So precise retargeting. So now moving into the bottom funnel, if you don't get that conversion right away, Google Tag Manager is the biggest thing that has helped us in this process. I think for anybody, Google Tag Manager is really what you want to start learning into. It's huge. Outside of Facebook, there's only so many things that you can do with Facebook, Google Ads that are allowed or basically available to you. So Tag Manager, it's an easy Fiverr search. There's a lot of people on Fiverr that can help with Google Tag Manager, but essentially, in this advertorial that we're first sending people to, we can create audiences based off of people that have scrolled a specific depth on that advertorial. So somebody that scrolled 50%, 70%, 90%, even 100% on the advertorial, we can create specific custom audiences to retarget to. This can also create custom conversion events in Facebook, so you can actually optimize to find somebody that would be willing to scroll 70% or more on your advertorial, which is super huge. Okay, there it is. So sales page URL visitors, you can also create audiences based on each one of those. So for example, we have that 2-step process. Somebody that goes to the advertorial and then the sales page, we probably want to be retargeting people that go to the sales page instead of just the whole process, right? Because that person was interested in not only going through that, but then willing to click to this next page. So if we, retarget people just from the pre-sale page, generally going to have a pretty high ROI on that person. They've shown a lot of interest. And then we can also show product or service specific content to those individuals. So if you're selling a specific product or service, basically shooting back that exact same content for that product or service back to that person that saw it. So this is the next step of it, right? So we have top funnel to an advertorial or sales page. If they do not convert on either one of these, we can go to a middle of funnel where we retarget these people and send them back to these pages, as well as bottom funnel. So this is the entire paid media structure as far as getting somebody from point A to point B, each part of the funnel and where we're sending them through that process. Okay, so equation for scaling profitably. So as we have ad spend, we're talking about costs of goods sold. Maybe it's our costs just to operate our business or things of that nature. So we want to make sure that the ad spend that we're spending is helping us scale profitably. It's not just a bigger expense each month. So the first thing that we look at is the average order value. As long as the average order value is higher than the cost of acquisition, you're going to have a positive ROI on average for that ad spend. If your cost of acquisition is less than your lifetime value, you generally will scale, right? And so profitably. So a lot of times we think about, well, hey, what is the, how are we going to get a new customer? Is this new customer going to, be profitable? And we're thinking about that right up front. But generally, from a macro perspective, people don't just buy from us, hopefully more than, or just one time, or hopefully more than just one time. So ways we can help increase average order value to justify that cost of acquisition. I would say any business should always have some sort of a post-purchase upsell. From our perspective, if you are upselling, a lot of times people will upsell. I don't know if you guys have been to a website and they'll try and upsell you before you even purchase. A lot of times we've seen that can actually lower conversion rate in comparison to just doing it post-purchase after the sale. First, just get that initial transaction, and then from there do an upsell, and you can pretty much upsell as much as you want after that 4 or 5 different times. Downsell, lower offers, things of that nature. Things that you can upsell more of the same product or service that you're offering at a better price. So let's say somebody's doing like a 1-month commitment with you, or they're buying at a certain price. You can say, hey, if you do this much, I'll actually give you a better price, or things of that nature. Everything that you're doing, I think should have some sort of upsell. Can be a different but related product or service. So let's say you're doing cleaning supplies and you're doing a spray, well, maybe sell them a sponge or other things of that nature, something that relates to that initial product. You want these to be time scarce. So basically make a decision right now, offer it to them at a discounted rate. So jumping into the lifetime value of a customer. Essentially, most people, after you acquire these customers, okay, so we're like creating all this content, we're going through all these strategies to get a customer, now you have that customer in place. What you do with that customer afterwards determines if you're going to be able to scale, exponentially in the long term. So the main thing that I hear from our clients most of the time is we don't want to spam our list. Like, why are we sending emails every single day? They're not going to like this, it's too much. We're just spamming them, right? So we view email just like any other content channel out there. Whether it's Instagram, Facebook, right? Everybody's posting every single day on Facebook, Instagram, but not everybody's emailing every day. Well, why is that? Well, if you follow somebody on Instagram and they're posting every day and all they're doing is trying to hard sell you, you'll probably unfollow that person. But if that person's providing value, you're probably going to stick with that, you want to engage with that person that you're following. So with these emails, it doesn't need to be hard promotions every single day as you're emailing your list. It can be just value about your specific niche, your specific product or services, or something just in that industry to have an engaged audience. You want to have a high click-through rate, high open rate, and things of that nature. We would view email just pretty much like any other media channel. You post on social media daily, however, people don't really email as much. Another thing is SMS. So this is huge. If you guys don't have SMS, I would do email and SMS alongside each other. With SMS, you're generally getting a 98% open rate. So from my perspective, probably not as much SMS as email. However, at least once a week, you should be sending a text message to your entire audience of current customers, people that already have done business with you. So this is the bottom series after you've acquired a customer that we implement for Shopify direct-to-consumer stores. So essentially we have two main aspects. We have automations and we have campaigns. So in automations, we break it down into 4 specific ones. We'll do product-specific SMS, so people that have purchased a product in a specific category or collection, we want to put those people in a specific automation that are basically, let's say it's a consumable or things of that nature. You buy a bag of chips, 14 days later, hey, how was that? You know, try another flavor, things of that nature. Welcome series, so basically your entire pool you want to put through an automation. Product-specific post automation for email, so basically same thing as SMS, but for email. And then that abandoned cart automation we were talking about earlier for emails within 72 hours. For campaigns, basically these are just one-time blasts going out. We'll do it for all SMS subscribers and all customers. Generally, we're doing these campaigns every single day for all customers and then SMS every 7 days. Additional tactics. Video assets for Facebook ads right now are everything. So on average, you're getting about 10x to 15x the amount of video views in comparison to clicks on your paid media. So for example, let's say you're running a video ad, you get 100 clicks, you spent, X. Out of those clicks, you had about 15x the amount of people that watched that video, right? So for a fraction of the cost of building out these audiences, you can specifically retarget people that watch your videos. So it's basically building a bigger audience without having to spend as much to get those people to your website. So different retargeting options. You can retarget people based off of 3-second video view, 10-second video view, 50% video watched, and then another one is 75%. These are the main ones that we'll use. And this is basically a middle funnel audience, so somebody that watched that video and then didn't go and convert afterwards. Video types, huge is infomercial. This is a little bit more high level. A lot of people may be spending over 10, 40, 50 grand for these infomercials, but kind of like an as seen on TV thing, but displaying it somewhere else except TV on Facebook, Instagram, social media. Reviews, testimonials. So generally, if you have 4 or 5 different review videos, you can chop those up into different ways and provide that as a video asset for middle of funnel, even top of funnel cold traffic visitors. Founder story or background. So basically your story, why'd you get into it? What's your reasoning behind your business? And then an animated explainer video. These are the main ones that we use for paid media to drive in new customers. Google Ads. Okay, so this is a big one. I know Hormozy talks about this as well. So essentially, this is going to be the highest return on ad spend, right? This is more of a bottom funnel audience, in my opinion. These are people that already know about you, but it's an easy conversion. So why would you already spend on people that know about you? So essentially, your business name, your product name, things of that nature. Facebook ad or Google Ads almost operates as an alley-oop with Facebook ads. So somebody will see a Facebook ad and they'll say, oh, awesome, this is a cool product or service. They'll go search for that on Amazon or Google or things of that nature, right? So if they go search for it on Google, you want to make sure that they're not going to your competitors, they're going to your website and or going to a bundle page or product page that's going to have a higher conversion rate. So long form copy that is optimized specifically to get a higher conversion rate. So with this in mind, you have a higher average order value when sending to bundle pack sales pages. Also, pages that have more conversion-driven copy, compete against your competitors, and increase conversion action data. So more high level, basically with Facebook, you have your Facebook pixel, which operates all of the different traffic that you have. With Google Ads, they call it conversion actions, which is essentially the Google pixel, if you will. So yeah, for any of your business, first thing I would do with Google Ads is just bid on your own name or your own service. Next one with Google Ads is Google Shopping. This is huge. So for Shopify stores, this is basically the most similar thing to like Amazon or Walmart traffic. These are people that are going that are already showing some sort of transactional interest or behavior when going to Google Shopping. So it's pay-per-click advertising, right? So for example, rather than doing Google AdWords, somebody that's just seeing text, with Google Shopping, you're showing somebody a picture of the product and the price before they even click. So for example, if somebody's clicking on this, they already know their pink pants, $23.99, that person's probably very, highly likely to convert after they click. So it's very good, high quality traffic, and it also will display on Google AdSense. So for a lot of websites out there, let's say like a certain blog page or article that relates to your industry, a lot of blog article companies or like websites will monetize through Google AdSense. So that's how like a lot of those free websites or free tools you see on the internet actually make money. It's through Google AdSense. So with Google Ads, it will display on anybody that has Google AdSense onto their website. So for example, let's say you are selling coffee and you're trying to retarget people that are, have came to your website, haven't purchased. Well, if there's blogs or articles or free information out there that they're reading, you could eventually show up on that article after they've already seen, your product. So it's kind of very similar to somebody says, oh, I had just searched for that, how they're listening to me, or things of that nature. Very similar. And then bidding, you can essentially bid for a target cost of acquisition. So you can say, hey, I actually only want to purchase, or I only want to spend if I can acquire a customer for $5, $7, something very fractional to your actual product cost. And you can also do a target return on ad spend, which really helps basically, so you're only paying when there's an opportunity for you to get a high return on ad spend. Any questions so far about Google Shopping? Anything so far? I know I'm going like super fast, like going through everything.
It's been amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, could you get into that Performance Max thing? Was that a YouTube campaign or was that a search campaign?
Essentially all in one. So you can actually have YouTube URLs in there, so for video placement, as well as it's basically search, shopping, YouTube, and display all in one ad or campaign.
And is that built off of the search platform, or is it built off of the YouTube platform as far as like where the creative shows up?
It's generally dynamic. So it's essentially you create all of it in one campaign, and then you can see the placements of where they're doing it, but they dynamically will decide based on search or YouTube. It's basically all in one from my experience.
And it's different from the responsive campaigns in YouTube, because I'm guessing that's just on the YouTube platform, but it's essentially dynamic for all there.
Yeah, it's in comparison to just doing a YouTube ad. This is like the catch-all or all-in-one. You can do simultaneously with it or just as itself. So it's from my experience, has been very high ROI for just direct conversion.
Yeah.
So that's what we've seen so far.
Cool.
On that note, you were saying too, I want to make sure I was getting it right. You can take those people from those like Performance Max campaigns where you're retargeting the websites and you're taking that list and putting it into Facebook?
Good question. Yeah, so with Google Ads, the way that retargeting operates with Google Ads is through Google Analytics. So I don't know if anybody has Google Analytics on their website, but essentially you can link your Google Analytics to your Google Ads account, and then anybody that's come to the website, you can create audiences like that. However, when Facebook ads, when you have that Facebook pixel on your website, it's tracking everybody that comes no matter where they come from. So you can actually, do Google Shopping, let's say cold traffic, and then retarget people on Facebook, if that answers your question.
Could I build an audience on Google with my competitors' websites, take that data, put it in a custom audience to Facebook, and run a Facebook ad to it, or something similar?
That's a good question. I know you can do that to display on Google. As far as that from my experience, that'd probably be a tag manager implementation. Yeah. But that's a great question. That's a good question. I wouldn't have a direct answer, to be honest. But this is Google Shopping, so very, very highly emphasized in our agency. Every client that we use, first thing we do along with Facebook as a Google Shopping actually as well. So this is it from cold traffic to increasing lifetime value over time. There's a lot more in here, but this is kind of a higher level. We have top funnel, and then these are the specific audiences. Going to this advertorial, middle of funnel. These are specific people that we're targeting. Generally, we're doing 180 days. We split that test this between a 1 month visitor view versus 180 days, depending on your traffic size. Sometimes this can be great to start with just so you have a bigger data pool. Bottom funnel is going to be people added to cart initiated checkout in that same time period. And then increasing the lifetime value. So a little higher level thing that we have in here with the ad set bidding. Initially when we start, we do lowest cost, 1 day click, 1 day view for our attribution settings. As we get over $1,000 per day in revenue, we added a minimum ROAS 2.0 1 day attribution. So what's interesting with these is a lot of these platforms, Google and Facebook, you can optimize for a specific return on ad spend or ROI, but it doesn't mean it's automatically going to spend. So if you do, let's say, $1,000 a day budget with a minimum return on ad spend of $2,000, you may never spend on that campaign right out of the gate. So we start with this because this is going to spend no matter what, and then we blend those ad set bidding structures to essentially have, let's say, 50% of the ad spend in lowest cost with another 50% on minimum ROAS. There's enough data going where both can be spending. So resources, this is what we use. Or sorry, does someone have a question? No? Okay, sorry, I don't know if somebody had a question. Resources, accurate attribution tracking, we use Hyros. So ever since the iOS update came out last year, you essentially cannot get accurate data in any of the ad account platforms, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Google. It will never give you accurate data. You used to be able to see exactly the return on ad spend, what demographic you were spending ads on, everything like that. Hyros is essentially a platform that we use that allows you to see that accuracy. And it's also a Chrome extension that we implement into these ad accounts to be able to see that live. For Shopify, we use OmniSend, landing pages. We use Pagefly, kind of like the in-house ClickFunnels for Shopify. Upsells, we use One-Click Upsell by Zipify and Ezra. Places that you can basically, if you don't have, let's say you don't have a store, you don't have a product, you're not helping somebody with their Shopify store, there's marketplaces where you can actually go find products, services, things of that nature, where you can get, let's say, anywhere from a 50, 70% commission to sell those individual products. Two of the marketplaces are ClickBank, which is a huge affiliate marketing marketplace. JVZoo is another big one. A lot of these are like SaaS platforms, like products. So there's a lot where it's like you can build a whiteboard doodle video on your own, and then you can sell that and make a 50% commission or things of that nature. So these are huge, a little bit difficult to implement, but these are some main resources. And I think that is it. So yeah, any questions? Or that was like basically rapid fire, me just like spitting out a bunch of fast information. Let me know if you guys were able to follow that, if there's any questions or any confusion or anything that you can, basically any questions specifically for your business that you may want to help try and acquire more customers. Anyone has questions?
Yeah, so like you mentioned with what,
Hyros, yep.
Hyros. So what that's enabled you to do is kind of see a little bit more granular data than what's now available. So like with in the last 12 months with like the user privacy updates, with like the opt-in now when you go to websites, you can collect my data or please do not sell. Has that changed your strategy from maybe focusing more on the retargeting to now more prospecting because you don't have as much information on the retargeting?
This is a great question. Yeah, so Hyros basically solves that challenge. So you're right, yeah, with that whole accept cookies and things of that nature, that's with Apple's iOS policy. Through this, they can track it. So essentially what we do is we add in a URL parameter into these ads, and then there's scripts and codes that you put into your website. So we can see real-time data and accuracy with using third-party apps. There's a few other ones out there. This is the main one that we use. But in regards to the budget allocation, generally we'll be top of funnel, like let's say 65% of the budget to cold traffic. So we always have a very ripe ROI, hungry bottom of funnel, no matter kind of where we're at with the revenue. So we're always basically putting most of the revenue to cold traffic just to feed bottom funnel. And there you go.
I got a question. Where do you see it change as far as like high ticket items? Like this strategy is great, but it probably doesn't work for like a 30K or 40K offer.
Correct. Yeah. So for direct to consumer, most of these products are like under $100. But if you're doing high ticket, generally for any high ticket process, you're never generally going to walk up to somebody on the street and say, hey, do you want to buy my product for $5,000? You generally have that kind of that value ladder or that lead loss, if you will. So this product could work for, let's say you have that $10,000 offer, you have a $100 ebook, $20 ebook, something like that, or some sort of free course, things of that nature. So generally you're using this for that upfront like opt-in package. And then from that point, you kind of take it to that next step of then you have the sales call or free appointment or something like that. From my experience. Yeah.
Quick question.
Yeah.
On the SMS, I'm just thinking about this. Most of those are now like a reply-based SMS feature, right? It's just gonna be outbound only, like a unsubscribe.
For blasting to cold traffic,
Yeah.
from our experience, so that can get a little hairy. I mean, it depends. I know Blake's got a system for that. From our experience, and this is huge actually. We've actually had an experience where a client went and did this free giveaway and acquired like 50,000 phone numbers, and we did a blast to them. And then this specific person, their full-time job was just suing people that would send them an SMS like marketing material where they didn't opt in legally. So there's a huge like legal area around it. So we generally only will do specific SMS blasts to people that have opted in like efficiently, I guess from my perspective, yeah.
Gotcha. And even though it's opt-in, so like you're sending it out, there's no reply, there's no like conversation. You're not trying to, I guess with a lower ticket like product, there's no need. You're not trying to like engage in dialogue with them.
Generally not. Yeah, generally it's like a straight promotion. So like on it, like we'll do something maybe like a Sunday special, save 20%, save 10% to that whole list. But there are many out there where you can have kind of like that Zendesk interaction.
Okay.
That do quite well. Like a lot of times, let's say you have a live visitor on your website and they've been there for a minute or two and they haven't purchased. You can say, hey, do you want to get a 10% discount or something like that? So there are apps for it based on engagement, but the biggest thing is just making sure you don't cross any legal barriers.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
I was gonna say, Zach, amazing by the way. You know what I'm saying? You're extremely articulate, visual. I feel like I understood a lot without having like in-depth marketing expertise.
Appreciate it. Yep.
But as far as like your client base, like how passive could something or a partnership like that be where we find like a specific product that we know that has, a good return on investment for somebody like that's doing a bunch of things and may want to tap into that.
Sorry to better understand, as far as like how passive could it be?
For like the person who is actually partnering with you
Yeah.
to use your service.
Yeah, so we're completely turnkey. So it's interesting, like a lot of companies that we work with, they're usually doing somewhere under $10,000 a month. And when we say, hey, we're going to get you to 100,000 plus a month, they initially don't think it's possible. But then from what's interesting is generally we're taking their content and their assets and everything like that, their whole Dropbox folders. But from creating the ads to managing them on a daily basis to helping with those post-purchase, we basically do everything. So all they're doing is just putting down their credit card.
That's cool.
So
I would totally click into the funnel right now.
the advertorial, yeah. So it's good. No, and I mean, and there's so many different like strategies. These are the main two. In reality, like I know every business, every product, like literally there's thousands. These have been the main two that we've seen do really well for our clients, our business. So that's about it.
One more question on that.
Yeah.
Do you work with people who are using that entire strategy? They're finding someone else's product, going to get to build a list to them to sell, like kind of like what Austin's saying. It's almost like a lead magnet, but they don't have to create the product, and then they're using that to build a list and then sell them to like a higher ticket service.
We currently don't. Like have played around with it in the past. I think the strategy would be very similar. I think the success rate would be very similar. it is basically with what we have in place right now, it's just a lot easier to get a direct conversion, see the revenue right there, and just scale it. But the process would probably be very, very similar.
Wait, was the question upselling them or cross-selling them with different affiliate offers?
No, like, he has a service, right? Is there a product that could align with someone that would also want that service that he'd be basically finding on ClickBank, selling them that, and he has
Oh.
a massive list to market to?
Totally.
His service, but he's acquiring leads at it for profit.
Totally. Yeah, very unique. So you're in Forex, right? It'd be interesting. I mean, you could, I don't know, you'd have to think maybe if there is a physical product that could be sold there, or even, I think a lot of times what we'll see is, free training or free information or something like that. But you could, or even on ClickBank, I think with JVZoo, there's a lot more like SaaS products and services that's just like a whole marketplace that you can sell. So maybe there's something that relates to trading that you can.
Get a product from there, market it, and then build out this massive list, which is now feeding my funnel for the upsell.
Totally. Yeah, and
Or create the product yourself.
Yeah. And these are super easy. Yeah, I mean, some of these, they'll give you a 70% commission. They don't care. It's just it's just digital product.
Yeah.
I actually just implemented something like that for my remnant traffic. And I mean, it's kind of complicated how it works, but essentially, the traffic that I can't use, I found partners that wanted it and just worked out, and get paid out on signups.
Interesting.
Yeah, but Zach, a lot of people in like the coaching space, they'll use like what, a $7 ebook, $27 mini course as like a tripwire.
Yeah.
Loss leader. Could you in theory just take that and plug that into this entire framework?
100%. You could literally just scale to multiple millions on that.
Optimize for book calls, have reps calling it all.
What's super interesting, like,
Offer.
yeah, everybody wants to be a premium brand and sell a pencil for $1,000 and like be the biggest next premium brand. What's interesting is we say to our clients, like, literally go as low as you can, because if you can, and not in a bad way, but for example, if you can like sell it, the lower it is, the easier of a commitment it is, right? And if you're selling something, let's say for $20 or less, it's easy consistently to spend 1 to make 2 to make 4. And then if if you can basically scale that, or which is what we'll spend thousands a day on, it's just the same result with a lower product offer. So it's very easy to scale something the lower it is. Basically, rather than doing 10 at 1,000, we'll do like, it's a lot easier to do 1,000 for $10 or something like that.
Is it just more predictable when it's less expensive?
From the paid media side, it's very easy. Well, it's a little bit more challenging. Like we have, people in, like we sell surfboard covers that are over $100, and those are quite tactical on Google. But basically, the more people are spending, the more information they want, the more, just generally you need to provide that information, especially if they're cold traffic. So usually lower ticket, yeah, it's easier to scale consistently and profitably. So. Cool. Any other questions? Anything like that specific to anyone's business? Or all right.
Have you seen lookalike audience drop off since the iOS update?
Yeah, we consistently update ours. So I mean, and we've split tested it. We've been doing it close to, I mean, at least now every month, where we'll just go export it. And what we do is we'll do product specific exports. We'll export that, in then Excel, what product did they buy, and then here's everyone that bought that specific product. Originally we were doing it quarterly, but yeah, now it's monthly. What's interesting is you basically just don't want to go back into the learning phase, right? So as long as you can update it and stay in the active phase for some of the ones that are really scaling, generally you can, I mean, we've even split tested doing it daily. So, but from that, our biggest secret is not just doing one. So we'll stack lookalikes on each other, which is super interesting. Like any high level strategist or person that I've talked to, that's stupid, don't ever do it. It's weird. I had a VA that worked for this high level ad spend company recommend it to me, and it's the only thing we do now. So yeah.
So do you have 1%, 1 to 2%, 1 to 3, and you stack those, or you just create 1 to 10% of that?
1 to 10, yeah.
One audience. Okay.
As one audience, and then it just trips the pixel out, doesn't know what to do, and then it just works really well. I don't know. So, but that's what I've seen. Yeah, as far as look, so that almost helps make sure that, like, essentially, because it's 1 to 10%, that's 1 to 10 million. You almost have like close to 100 million people in an audience, and then we just update those, just regularly from my experience. So, yeah.
And one more for you. So, you're talking about video views. I'll add some context, but like, how worth it do you think it is to build lists and run lookalikes to that if the video is very short? Home remodeling companies, painting companies, where it's a 30-second slideshow collage. It's a before and after transitioning, that type of stuff. Is it even worth it to look into retargeting 75% video views if the video is only 15 seconds?
100%. Yeah, the average time view is like, anywhere from 3 to 8 seconds on average. So it's interesting, like let's say like you're building an email list or something like that, building your video view audience is a similar process. You just can't market to them for free.
Business Manager, right?
It'll always be there. The only thing is you just have to pay, or sorry, what's that?
Because that's not a pixel thing, right?
The video views?
Right. That would just be in Business Manager.
So everything in Business Manager is an after effect of what that pixel has created. So it'll correlate off the pixel, but even if it's 10 seconds or 5 seconds, the only thing is, if you have a 10-minute video and somebody watched 70% of that, that's a lot more engaged than somebody that watched 70% of a 10-second video, right? But you're still building that, and you're going to be getting, 10x the amount of people that watched 70% in comparison to click.
So if I'm running all Messenger ads and there's no pixel, do I still have those audiences? I mean, I can just look that.
It's a unique situation. Yeah, I mean, if you're doing video, at the end of the day, though, as long as you're using video as the media, then you have those audiences. But cool, guys. We'll appreciate it. And that's it. There you go. Yep.